Question: when approaching an intersection with a flashing yellow traffic light, what should you do? Question: when driving at night, when should you use your high beam headlights? Question: what can you do to prevent highway hypnosis? Question: when parking uphill on a two-way street with no curb, how should you turn your front wheels? Question: if you see a pedestrian with a white cane or guide dog at an intersection, what must you do? Question: when parallel parking on a hill, which way should you turn your wheels when parking uphill with a curb? Question: when can you pass a vehicle on the right? Question: when can you drive in a bike lane? Question: when driving in fog, what lights should you use? Question: when preparing to make a left turn, how should you position your vehicle? Question: when approaching a crosswalk where pedestrians are waiting to cross, what must you do? Question: when parking downhill next to a curb, which way should you turn your wheels? Question: at a red traffic light with a green arrow, you may. Question: what is the first thing you should do if your vehicle starts to skid? Question: what must you do at a steady yellow light? Question: when approaching a school bus that has its red lights flashing and stop arm extended, what must you do? Question: at a four-way stop, two vehicles arrive at the same time. Who has the right of way? Question: what does a flashing red traffic light mean at an intersection? Question: when approaching a railroad crossing with flashing red lights and lowered gates, what must you do? Question: what should you do at a flashing red traffic light?
Question: if a vehicle stalls on the tracks at a railroad crossing, what should you do? Question: when should you dim your high beams? Question: you are involved in an accident. What should you do? Question: when in a travel lane on the roadway. Question: which of the following increases your driving distance? Question: when do most traffic fatalities occur? Question: what should you do if you are being tailgated? Question: what should you do when driving in fog? Question: a large truck is driving in the middle lane of 3 lanes. You want to pass it. What should you do? Question: when should you use your horn? Question: what should you do if you feel drowsy while driving? Question: what is the best way to avoid a collision? Question: what is a crosswalk? Question: what should you do if you miss your exit on an expressway? Question: what does this sign mean? Question: what should you do if your brakes fail while driving? Question: when should you dim your high beam headlights? Question: what must you do at a steady yellow light? Question: where should your hands be on the steering wheel? Question: what does this road sign mean?
Question: which line is used to mark the right edge of the road? Question: you may drive faster than 55 miles per hour if the posted speed limit is higher than that. Question: which of these drugs could affect your ability to drive? Question: when driving at night, which of the following should you do? Question: if a vehicle starts to skid, what should you do? Question: at night, a vehicle coming toward you has its high beams on. You should. Question: if you are convicted of a DUI, your license will be. Question: how often should you check your mirrors? Question: a flashing red light at an intersection means. Question. When driving on a wet road, how can you tell if your car is hydroplaning? Question. When driving in fog, why should you avoid using high-beam headlights? Question. What should you do if you are being passed on a two-lane road? Question. When driving on a divided highway, what should you do to avoid wrong-way drivers? Question. If your vehicle starts to skid on ice, what is the safest action? Question. When driving at night, which of the following should you do? Question. When driving downhill for a long distance, how should you control your speed? Question. What should you do before changing lanes? Question. When exiting the interstate, when should you start slowing down? Question. After missing your exit, you should. Question. What must you do when warning lights are flashing at a railroad crossing?